Part 40. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jung Word. Chapter 391. Chapter 391, Sponsors Blocked. Sun Ying-er also knew that although she shouted to Sunian's sister every day, if it involved core secrets, Sunian would not be able to tell her. After all, they all come from wealthy families and they all know the rules. As for if you want to know something, the only way is to discover it yourself. Well, I also know that you have been a little busy recently with various social activities, but there are some things I need your reference for. Sunian subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this. Fortunately, I don't continue to ask. If I had continued to ask, then I would have to make up excuses again. Sister looks much smarter than Li Baikan. If you talk too much, you will inevitably become suspicious. Li Baikan, he can understand that Sunian doesn't want to lie to the people he cares about, but why did he say that Sun Ying-er is smarter than him? Where did he draw this conclusion? What's going on? It's a matter of sponsors. There are so many people interested in sponsoring. It's my first time to take charge of this matter. I don't know how to choose a better sponsorship. As soon as Sunian heard this, she knew where she was struggling. The sponsors are not excluded from being Huo Linyuan. If you want to find them one by one, the Sun family can also find them, but the Sun family and the Huo family have not completely broken up. If they really find out, it will not look good, so she will find it out and then use the Li family's help. Dispose of it by hand. Sunian can also understand such a plan. She flipped through the documents handed over by Sun Ying-er. Most of them are unknown jewelry and clothing, which are not on the market at all. After all, where is Huo Linyuan's power? It is impossible for high-end brand owners to offend the Huo family to please the Li family. These brands are not first-tier brands, they can even be said to be below third-tier brands. Yeah, these are not very famous. I don't dare to choose blindly. What if I choose randomly and make Huo Linyuan a joke? In the end, Sun Ying-er has had a headache for many days because of this matter. Now Huo Linyuan has been keeping an eye on them. If they make a single wrong step, they may lose everything. After all, no one wants to let his ex see his jokes after breaking up with him. Especially now that it's become so big. Sunian closed the document. We can't make much money with these sponsors. If that's the case, then we will abandon this aspect and not make money. Anyway, we are not short of money. From the beginning, we just wanted to prevent Huo Linyuan from stepping down. Climbing up on Huo Linyuan's body is just the best case scenario. If it doesn't work, then we will settle for the next best thing and make Huo Linyuan uncomfortable. We might as well change our thinking and change the main purpose of making Huo Linyuan uncomfortable, no matter how disgusting it is. Let him regret it and stop us from making money. Sun Ying-er looked at her. Let's ask about Liawei Daihuang pills, Shenbao tablets, reproductive hospitals, and all kinds of things that affect Huo Linyuan. The sponsorship fee is not high, or even paid. This made Li Baikan, who was processing documents nearby, want to laugh. Sunian's method is really damaging. According to the news from the Huo family in the past few days, Huo Linyuan's physical problems gave him a headache. After all, no matter what the disease is, if it is not treated in time, it will slowly develop into big problems. Sunian's troubles now can be regarded as a mistake. But Sun Ying-er frowned. But doesn't this make us look inferior? It's like a copycat stage. You are wrong. Other programs choose this sponsor because they have no money, but we choose this sponsor to disgust people. When Sunian said this, Li Baikan's voice also sounded, with me, how can you be short of money? Then Sunian immediately slapped the table. Yes, we are not short of money. The stage and everything are beautiful. The show is better and the whole thing is high-end. As long as there is money, Sows can hold it. If you become a big star, what are you afraid of? Sun Ying'er's eyes looked at Sunian now with light in her eyes. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 392. Chapter 392 Lee Baikan, fortunately, I have never been immoral. I asked Josu to check just now. Huo Linyuan did say hello to those big brands. If he gets involved with you, then be careful about his methods. Lee Baikan looked at the message on his phone and then spoke. Sunian almost laughed when he heard this. Ha ha ha, now I feel more and more that this male protagonist has no brains. Iffies, the more you care about this matter, the more you lose. Now everyone is watching this variety show, and Huo Linyuan's small tricks like this prove that the more this Huo Linyuan cares. Hey, I lost before I even played. If we create a brand now, a brand linked to scumbags, it will definitely become popular. Sun Ying'er took out her mobile phone and explained Sunian's thoughts just now. Originally, Sun Ying'er just complained casually. But after he finished complaining, he suddenly raised his head. She raised her head and saw excitement in Sunian's eyes. Because of Huo Linyuan's intervention, they can't make money from sponsors without high-end brands contacting them, but that doesn't mean they can't make money from other brands. Baikan, does our company have any subsidiaries in the clothing category? Lee Baikan immediately replied, yes. Sun Ying'er also said, we also have it at home. Although it's not big, we can also make some clothes. Sunian, that's enough. We make a large number of black and white t-shirts, and then simply print some words, such as death to scumbags to stir up the popularity, then we don't have to worry about the clothes not being sold. In addition, if his guess is correct, Huo Linyuan should be focusing on us to find sponsors, and the operations I just mentioned can attract Huo Linyuan's attention. Let's build a plank road in the open and visit Chenkang in secret. Sun Ying'er's entanglement in the past few days suddenly disappeared. She really had to admit now that Sunian's brain was better than hers. Nian, you are really too smart. How can you be so smart? After saying this, Sun Ying'er couldn't help but walked up to Sunian, stretched out her hand and rubbed her face. With you I am lucky to know you. Sunian also smiled. I am sure that the male and female protagonists of the Mary Sue will not be able to think of this unexpected trick even if they try to break their brains. Hate scumbag men, this is a characteristic of every woman. Hey, why do I think I can create a trendy brand? Seeing Sunian's happy smile, Lee Baikan certainly understood that now was the time for him to show off, and immediately stood up and walked to Sunian's side. I will tell Josu to do what you want. Sure enough, after Lee Baikan finished speaking, Sunian turned to look at him. This guy is really active now. But yes, in the setting of a novel, the male protagonist and the second male protagonist are mortal enemies. Now that the male protagonist is so frustrated, of course he has to be active. No matter whether he is sincere or pretending to me, he will always be positive. Just when Sunian thought of this, Lee Baikan immediately bent down and tapped her lips directly. Then he said, in this era, the wife is almost the one who makes the decision in the family. I also think that our family should follow the trend and arrange everything according to the wife's wishes. Before Sunian could react, Sun Ying'er protested, don't you think it's immoral for you to show affection like this in front of me, a person who doesn't want anything? It's indeed a bit immoral. Lee Baikan sat next to Sunian, and then held Sunian in his arms. Fortunately, I have never been immoral. Sun Ying'er. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 393. Chapter 393, Commit violence on the street and break the law. Sun Ying-er felt that Li Baikan could no longer be allowed to be arrogant. He immediately reached out and forcibly pulled Sunian out of Li Baikan's arms. As Nianyan's sister, how could I watch my sister marry an immoral person? After all, in this world it is estimated that no one can be as good as Nian, so in order to prevent you from tarnishing such a good girl like Nian, I decided to take Nian away from you. As he said that, he took Sunian and walked out. Sunian also followed obediently. However, when she was about to reach the office door, she couldn't help but look back. Unexpectedly, he saw Li Baikan, who looked like an abandoned puppy. Don't look at it. You should go play with me. It's so fun to stay with my sister. Hearing Sun Ying-er's words, Sunian subconsciously withdrew his gaze. I didn't look. Sun Ying-er snorted coldly. Sunian also said flatteringly, of course it's fun to stay with my sister. It's really good that you showed up, sister. I was bored in the office and I wanted to find an excuse to come and play with you. Sun Ying-er just gave a really. Sunian then held her arm affectionately. The two of them walked outside so affectionately. Start to discuss whether to buy a bag or do something else later. The two of them had just walked to the gate. Sunian looked at a woman coming towards him, and she was holding a brick in her hand. That's right, it's bricks. Sunian immediately pushed Sun Ying-er away. Sunian, you are a despicable and shameless woman. You actually bullied me like this when I was not around. If I don't let you pay the price, I am not a human being. Because it came so suddenly, Josu didn't react at all. After all, who would have thought that someone would attack Sunian, the CEO's wife, at the gate of Li Group? Sunian saw the person coming clearly. Haha, it's Lan Min's best friend, Yang Jing. National Sanda Women's Champion, a powerful character. In the novel, he is basically a character who helps Lan Ji teach others. She remembered how this character was described in the novel. Yang Jing has a very straightforward temperament, she doesn't know how to bend corners at all, and she can go out of her way to save her friends. The temperaments of Lan Ji and Lan Ji become complementary. In the end, this character really died while blocking the knife for Lan Ren. What's interesting is that when this character was around, the author used a lot of pen and ink to describe the sisterhood between the two of them. But after Yang Jing went offline, the author never mentioned it once. So this Yang Jing is a living tool person. You still want to hide, Sunian, if you have a little bit of backbone, you shouldn't hide. And Josu also called the security guards in time to surround the people. Yang Jing looked at Sunian, who was hiding behind the security guard, and smiled contemptuously. Sunian, you coward, you know how to hide behind others. Hiding behind is better than having no brains. Josu immediately called the police. Someone is committing murder on the street. Sunian directly interrupted Yang Jing's harsh words. You see, if I don't take up the weapon of the law, I will let you go to jail. Yang Jing's face suddenly stiffened. Sunian was not surprised by Yang Jing's expression. Yang Jing, you maliciously committed an attack on the street. This is a serious violation of the Social Security law, and you also seriously injured me. You can wait until you go to jail. Sunian lay down directly on the ground after saying this. Yang Jing, who originally spoke righteously. The next moment, Yang Jing broke through the defense on the spot. You framed someone, I didn't even meet you, okay. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 394. Chapter 394, with all this equipment, I don't believe I can't defeat Li Baikan. The security guards surrounding her took advantage of Yang Jing's defense and pushed her to the ground. Sun Ying-er was a little confused when she saw Sunian's operation. But, it's definitely right to follow my sister's lead. He immediately ran to Sunian and lay down next to him. Yang Jing, you're finished. You seriously injured two people in the downtown area. Yang Jing. Josu had stayed with Sunian for so long and had a tacit understanding. He immediately started shouting, "It's not good, my wife is injured. Call an ambulance quickly." The scene immediately became chaotic. Sun Ying-er, who was lying on the ground, couldn't help but said to Sunian next to her, "Nian Nian, I really admire you to the point of falling to the ground." "What do you admire? Today is a legal society. As a legal citizen, of course you must take up legal weapons to protect your own interests." Sun Ying-er thought of her previous contact with Lan Min and the others. Why didn't she think of it? Then the two chattering people were sent to the hospital by Josu. This matter, of course, quickly escalated. Li Baikan was a little in disbelief when he heard the news. After all, he was attacked at the company gate. "Stop all work immediately and go to the hospital." Just arrived at the door of the ward, I heard Sunian's careless voice. "Yes, the reason why I stay with Li Baikan is to give birth to his child. There is no love or no love. As long as I give birth to the child, the Li group will be mine. Then I will also hold a talent show. Select some fake Li Baikan to be my male favorite. No, I already have money, why should I want Li Baikan's face?" These words successfully relieved Li Baikan's hanging heart. Although the person reporting the incident said that Sunian was not harmed, he was still a little worried. The fact that she can talk so eloquently now is enough to prove that she is mentally fine. "By the way, sister, can you do me a favor?" Hearing Sunian's voice begging Sun Ying-er, Li Baikan frowned slightly. Why, he has done so much now, and her first reaction when encountering something is always to think of others. "Hey, it seems we still have to work hard. Sister, can you help me buy nurse uniforms, student suits, and uniforms? If I ask someone from Baikan to buy them, he will definitely know about them immediately." Li Baikan. "With all this equipment, I don't believe I can't defeat Li Baikan." Sun Ying-er's echoing voice also sounded, "With your slim waist of 30-60, you can definitely do it, unless he is not a man." Author, as a person with an uneven chest, how can I be equal to the world? I cried with envy. In order to prevent Sunian from continuing to talk nonsense, Li Baikan immediately knocked on the door. Sure enough, the sound inside stopped. When Li Baikan pushed the door open and walked in, he saw two people lying on the bed obediently. "Baikan!" Sunian shouted weakly. But Sun Ying-er doesn't have as much experience as Sunian, and she still looks at Sunian with admiration. In fact, during this period, she saw that Sunian and Li Baikan had such a good relationship, and she thought about reminding Sunian. After all, she had watched Li Baikan, Lan Min, and Huo Linyuan being entangled in each other over the years. Li Baikan was very loyal to Lan Min at first. Now that she suddenly fell in love with Sunian, even as an outsider, she was a little unbelievable, but she was also afraid that it would be bad for her to talk too much. But now she knows that she really thinks too much. Sun Ying-er felt that she had to learn from Sunian and couldn't be like before. Can't live up to expectations. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 395. Chapter 395. Okay, I forgot about this guy's fastness. Li Baikan quickly walked to Sunian's side. "What's wrong? Something doesn't feel right. My heart hurts. I was really scared to death today." Sunian started crying after saying this. "Hey, the more I can make a man feel distressed at this time, the better I can succeed. Add the equipment that I ask Sun Ying-er to buy." Equipment. Why does Li Baikan feel that his life in the future will definitely be difficult? It's very difficult. But what else can be done? We can only sit next to each other. It can also be regarded as his punishment. Then let me rub it for you, Li Baikan coaxed her warmly. Sun Yan was waiting for these words and immediately put Li Baikan's hand on her. Let Li Baikan feel it very directly. Li Baikan. Hey, at this time, he definitely won't think that I am deliberately trying to seduce. The more this happens, the more chance I have to succeed. Li Baikan had to admit that this little woman really saw through everything. My heart hurts. I arrange for you to take a film. After all, this heartache is a big deal. Li Baikan felt that his self-control was being exceeded by this little woman time and time again. Have no idea. Who made this little woman think of leaving her father and leaving her son? Sun Yan. Sun Ying-er. Now Sun Ying-er finally understood why Sun Yan looked helpless just now. This is a real straight man. I'll carry you now. Li Baikan really felt that there was a fire burning in his lower abdomen at this moment, and his throat was sore. He still had to do something else to control it. I immediately carried the person and walked towards the door. There was no chance for Sun Yan to speak, let alone move. Sun Ying-er looked at Li Baikan's hurried back. She really believed that Sun Yan's plan was not going to be realized. Why? After Li Baikan took the person out, of course he didn't take any pictures. Instead, it takes people to remote places. What did you want to do just now? Sun Yan didn't know how to ask such a direct question. What should I say? Should I tell the truth? Do I want to seduce you? It's really a bit shameful to say this. What else could Sun Yan do, except look at the man in front of him with aggrieved eyes? At this time, Li Baikan leaned over and whispered in Sun Yan's ear. A simple whisper made Sun Yan, a shameless guy, blush immediately. Because Li Baikan said, "Don't act coquettishly with me in front of outsiders in the future. I can't control myself." Sun Yan clenched Li Baikan's clothes tightly. Baikan. Do you want to embarrass me? Make others think that I am a beast? Do you have a beast husband? Susu, you will be the one who is embarrassed. Then the way Li Baikan thought of was to take the initiative. It seems like this method is still useful, I knew it. I have lived several lifetimes, how could this guy Li Baikan be my opponent? Catch him in a matter of minutes. I really didn't mean to do it. Sun Yan let his voice add a hint of laughter. I know you didn't mean it. Fortunately, I have strong self-control. Fortunately, I carried you out quickly, and now I have control. Sun Yan, who was about to continue acting coquettishly, blinked. What does it mean to have it under control? That's right, Li Baikan just wants this little woman to know his self-control. Well, I forgot about this guy's speed. Li Baikan. Attic if he is already very fast when it comes to flirting like this, but when it comes to doing it with real swords and real guns, what should we do if he is faster? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 396. Chapter 396. Sun Yan has seen the world. Why are you talking about this again? Okay, let's go home. Li Baikan raised his voice and interrupted Sun Yan's messy thoughts. Go home. Sun Yan's eyes suddenly lit up when he heard these two words. What can I do when I go home? Yes, you should not stay too long in the hospital. There are too many bacteria and you will easily get sick. Li Baikan continued to walk towards the hospital gate with the person in his arms. Although Sun Yan was very impatient, she was not someone who forgot her friends after seeing sex. She still remembered what happened to Sun Ying-er. We can't leave like this. My sister is still in the hospital. We left without saying hello to her. Then what happened to my sister? Might get angry. I told Josu to send the person back. When he said this, Li Baikan paused, and she wants to you away, why should I greet her? Hearing the instructions to Josu, Sunian obediently shut up. I just told my sister my purpose. I guess she has already guessed what I want to do when I get home. Hee, I will definitely not be angry. Maybe they will wish me immediate success. On the way home, Sunian's eyelids became heavier and heavier. Maybe it was because Lee Baiken's arms were so warm that she fell asleep in a daze. I don't know how long it took. Lee Baiken's voice rang in her ears, "My dear, wake up, don't sleep." Sunian, who was sleeping soundly, opened his eyes in a daze. When the eyes are open, I saw rows of shelves. The shelves are full of things like bags. But Sunian took one look and closed it. Such a reaction made Lee Baiken a little overwhelmed. He thought for a moment, then whispered into Sunian's ear, "I didn't accidentally drop your bag into the water before, I will compensate you for this." He has been looking for these bags for a long time. Having done a lot of homework, he got all kinds of collector's editions. The purpose is to give Sunian a surprise. I have been looking for opportunities these days. When he came back just now, he felt that it would be better to choose the day than to hit it. Finally Sunian opened his eyes. Looked at this room carefully. The various bags in the room are neatly arranged in rows. If you didn't know, you would have thought you were at a special counter. How about I change all the rooms in the basement to store your bags and clothes? Sunian lowered his gaze to Lee Baiken's face. How, what can be done? Of course not very good. What does the excitement on this guy's face mean? I feel like I have never seen this expression on his face before. It's just a basement. You know, Mo Bao built 4 floors for me in my previous life. 1 floor is for bags, 1 is for dresses, 1 is for daily clothes, and 1 is for jewelry. Not only that, there is also a dedicated management team for me. Lee Baiken. Hey, it's really difficult. I have to show surprise and coax this guy like I haven't seen the world before. Sure enough, the only person in this world who is willing to spend money for me regardless of the consequences is my precious son. Wow, Baiken, is this the surprise you said before? I'm so happy. I really feel like the happiest woman in the world now. I really can't describe my mood in words right now. Hey, it disturbs my sleep, it's true. Lee Baiken's face turned completely stiff. Why did he lose to that brat again? Lee Baiken still wanted to find some face for himself. This is only temporary, there are many more. Sunian, who has seen the world, nodded perfunctorily. For me, it's good that you have this heart. What else could Lee Baiken do? He could only hold Sunian and leave this place of right and wrong. Mo Bao, Daddy, let me come out, I can teach you, and I promise you to chase my mother. Anyone who cheats on you is a child. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 397. Chapter 397, Does the heroine Mary Sue want revenge? Want to eat shit? The variety show has officially started recording. Sunian and Sun Ying sat at the judges' table. It has everything that a draft should have. And also selected the largest live broadcast platform for simultaneous live broadcast. I am now completely immune to Huo Linyuan's face. Hey, I regret doing this now. After all, I have seen the face once, and now I have to see it again. Sun Ying had never thought that she would look at Huo Linyuan's face before. Tired of looking at the face. Nian, this move of yours is really amazing. Sunian smiled, picked up the coffee and took a sip. Today's recording may not start. This made Sun Ying look at her. Sister, we need to prepare for battle. After all, at this time, this is a good time for our Miss Lan to take high-profile revenge. How could she not show up? Sun Ying understood what Sunian meant and put away her smile. Sister, wait and see what I do, just wait for us to flourish. The director of the program team indicated that it was time to start. The host picked up the microphone and began to say, "Good evening, dear audience friends, welcome to the scene of the large-scale talent show Looking for Huo Linyuan. We are destined to meet each other. Today I am honored to announce here that you will embark on an absolute journey with us. A joyful journey. Let us witness Miss Sun's dream moment together." After the host finished speaking, there was fierce applause. The place suddenly came alive. Sun Ying-er listened to the deafening applause and leaned into Sun Yan's ear. "These tasks are really hard. Of course I work hard, it's 200 yuan a day and a packed lunch, how can I not work hard?" Sun Yan spent a lot of money in order to crush the male protagonist's face under his feet. You should know that this kind of delay usually costs 100 a day, but she directly paid double. It is estimated that the female protagonist or male protagonist will appear soon. 3, 2, 1. When counting to 1, the door to the studio opened. Many people came in quickly. She looked towards the door and saw Lan Min, whom she hadn't seen for a long time. A ray of light hits her body, and the protagonist's aura opens up directly. Lan Ji walked step by step, like Shura returning from hell. At this moment, Lan Min secretly swore in his heart. She will make Sun Yan pay the price. Made Sun Yan regret everything she did. "Gaming engineer, what are you doing? It's me who pays you, not her. Why did you hit her? Are you a traitor?" Sun Yan's voice sounded. "That one is slippery," the lighting engineer said with a smile. Those two sentences directly broke Lan Min's aura. Sun Yan was very unhappy. In the past, Lan Min had a light on his head, but this time it was the lighting engineer she paid for. She was not happy, and so was Lan Min. He immediately took the microphone and said, "Lan Min, what do you want to do? Why are you buying my lighting engineer? You still pay attention to lighting when you do things. Do you have such a big air?" The lighting engineer in the audience was about to cry. His hand really slipped and he hit Lan Min for some reason. The director next to him scolded him without hesitation, "You don't want your salary anymore, do you? Gaming engineer, he really wants to." Sun Yan's words directly broke Lan Ji's rhythm. Lan Ji thought she was going to question why she appeared here, and then, who knew that Sun Yan would pursue the lighting issue? It took Lan Min a long time to find his rhythm. "Sun Yan, I advise you to stop now, otherwise you will bear the consequences." Looking at Lan Min's face covered with thick powder, Sun Yan knew that his goal had been achieved. All the behavioral logic of Lan Ji is based on the routine logic of the heroine Mary Sue. As long as we break away from this logic, it will not work. This is her experience in her previous life. Revenge. I want to eat shit. I'm sorry, this is a novel about a Mary Sue heroine, not a novel about a strong woman. Look at her suppressing the revengeful seeds of the heroine Lan Min. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 398. Chapter 398, Turn-based is the greatest insult to me and the greatest tolerance to you. Why do you want to persuade me to stop? Sun Yan leaned on the back of the chair. Since Lan Min is here, he is naturally prepared. You are now infringing on Mr. Huo Linyuan's rights, his right to reputation, and his right to portrait. I am now issuing a warning to you on behalf of Mr. Huo, and will give you a lawyer's letter as soon as possible. We will see you in court. These words made Sun Ying-er stand up immediately. She had not thought of this at all. No wonder Huo Linyuan didn't actually stop him during this period, and he didn't make any big moves. It turned out that he was just waiting here. If you really pursue it, you will definitely lose. Then everything they do recently will become a joke. Then she looked at Sun Yan subconsciously. When she saw Sun Yan's calm face, she felt at ease. Sun Yan, do you have anything else to say? Lan Er walked towards Sun Yan step by step. This is your reminder to use legal weapons to protect your own interests, and you have to pay the price for your actions. You have violated Mr. Huo's reputation, caused Huo's group's stock to plummet, and Huo's group's image to suffer. You will pay for all the consequences. Lan Min walked up to Sunian. Didn't Sunian send her in? She Lan Min will treat others in their own way today. Have you applied for a patent? This made Lan Min's expression a little guarded. Sunian thought of a way the moment Lan Min sued her. Lan Min, I understand that you want to treat others with their own medicine, but it's a pity that your brain can't keep up, Sunian sneered. Sunian, don't interrupt. What did I say? Have you applied for a patent for the words Huo Linyuan? Is there only one person in the world named Huo Linyuan? After saying this, Sunian took out his mobile phone and fiddled with it. Look, it's the same name. The software shows that there are hundreds of thousands of people named Huo Linyuan. Why do you think I am referring to the president of Huo Group? Lan Min couldn't help but be shocked. But now Lan Yan knows very well that she must be careful and steady. If she loses this time, Lin Yuan will be disappointed in her. You are making excuses, everyone knows what you mean, and look at the faces in the audience. Didn't I ask? Did you apply for a patent? You applied for a patent and a trademark on the Huo Lin Yuan's face you mentioned. As long as you apply, then I will definitely go to jail at this point. Sunian's eyes suddenly he said, but, have you applied? Not to mention Lan Min's reaction, Sun Ying'er burst out laughing. Now everyone looked at her. Sun Ying'er quickly apologized, I'm sorry, my self-control is not good. Lan Jier couldn't help but gritted her teeth and said, Miss Sun, why did you collude with this woman and hurt the person you once loved? Didn't you keep saying before that you love Lin Yuan? Is this your love? Sunian. In fact, Sunian was really excited when he heard Lan Ren talking about the law just now. After all, this orchid man has finally changed his tricks. Facts have proven that dogs can never change their habit of eating shit. Because she doesn't have it. As long as you give her your Huo Lin Yuan, she won't have to look for it anymore. Why don't you understand this simple truth? After saying this, Sunian sighed, and then reached out to hold it. Lan Min pulled him over. Lan Min, are you done with your moves? If you're done with them, then it's my turn. The turn-based system is the greatest insult to me, and it is also the greatest tolerance to you. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Jong Word. Chapter 399. Chapter 399. May all the scumbags in the world die. A thin trace of sweat appeared on Lan Min's face. Actually, I've figured out your tricks a long time ago. You just come here every time you catch me. This was the case with the last bidding, and it's the same now. When Sunian said this, Lan Min pulled him over. Why are you sweating, and you are sweating so much? Are you anxious? Don't be anxious. Sunian, don't be complacent, the goddess of luck cannot always favor you. This is what I want to tell you. Haven't you been favored by the goddess of luck? Sunian's mind turned to what happened in his previous life, and his eyes became sharp, but you haven't cherished it yourself, now you have to pay the price for your lack of appreciation. As he said that, he let go of Lan Min. Sunian picked up the microphone and said to the camera, Dear viewers in the live broadcast room, although I don't know you, I want to ask you some questions. You once gave a lot to one person, but the other person of the opposite said that you were honored for your efforts, and said from above that love is the most beautiful thing in the world, but he doesn't love you, and everything you do is deserved. When Sunian said this, he took off his coat directly. Show your clothes directly. The director was also very cooperative in sending the camera over. Sunian was wearing a t-shirt with a line written on it, May all the scumbags in the world die. Sunian had long known that Lan Min would choose this time to make a glorious return. Since this is the case, then why not take advantage of Lan Min's gorgeous return to promote her clothing brand? Lan Yu, as a beneficiary of this kind of thing, what do you have to say? The staff immediately handed Lan Min the microphone. Lan Min was a little panicked now, but what Huo Linyuan said when he sent her here rang in her mind. Zhener, you can stand on the stage, no matter what you do, you must not lose your momentum. Lan Min thought Huo Linyuan had been treating him coldly and contemptuously recently. He immediately clenched his fists and said, Miss Su, what have I gained? There is a misunderstanding between us. There is no benefit, that means you don't need my kidneys, and you don't need to get a chance to live from me. Lan Min didn't expect Sunian to say this. That's right, Sunian knew very well that the current and established heroine wanted her kidney. She wants this Lan person to give up on his own. Just like when she was forced to sign the consent form. She still remembers this grudge. Sunian, this is one code, one code. How can you say this now? What Lan Min was most worried about was what would happen to her surgery if Li Baikan didn't stand on her side. Why should I return one code to another? Now that I have won Baikan's heart, I don't have to please you. Why should I give up my own body? Is there something wrong with your brain, Lan Min, or is there something wrong with my brain? Sunian brought the microphone to her mouth again. Someone once kept saying that my husband and I have no so-called love and we don't deserve to be together. But that woman is not with my husband either, but instead robs my husband of his love. Dear sisters, I also believe in you. You must have encountered such a situation, and I am here to say this. You are nothing. Sunian didn't say it clearly when she said this, but her eyes were always on Lan Min. End of this chapter. The vicious female supporting character's character collapsed after her voice was eavesdropped. Author, R.O. Wich Zhang Word. Chapter 400. Chapter 400 is the clothing industry about to rise. And what is Sun Ying'er doing now? Sun Ying'er is linking in the audience. That's right, it's the link. Now Sun Ying'er really feels that the Sunian is following Zhuge Liang. She said yesterday that if Lan Min came to cause trouble, she would take off her clothes and start wearing the same style. I didn't expect that Lan Min would actually come. 10,000 pieces have been sold out. Second sky, second sky. Miss Sun, do you still want to come on? The audience below is asking for it. Sun Ying'er's mood jumped rapidly as she listened to the noisy sounds in her ears, but she knew very well that she couldn't be careless now, she had to be calm now. Huo Linyuan, Lan Min, brought her humiliation. She, Sun Ying'er, must take it down. Sun Ying'er subconsciously looked at Zhou Su next to her. Secretary Zhou, how much more goods can you get? Zhou Su was also shocked. In fact, when Sunian asked him to make clothes, he just played with them. After all, the black clothes had a line of words printed on them. There was really nothing good about this. So for the sake of delivery, I only made 10,000 pieces. I thought that if Sunian couldn't sell it, it would be easy to deal with it. But I didn't expect it to be sold out so quickly. Okay, I'll contact you now. I can handle any order you have. Sun Ying'er knew very well why Zhou Su was like this. Even when she heard that Sunian wanted to buy clothes here, she was a little surprised. After all, in her opinion, it is not easy to sell a clothing brand. But now she felt a little narrow-minded. 30,000 more, up. When she said this, Sun Ying'er thought of something, and then looked at Zhou Su who was on the phone. Zhou Su quickly turned around. Miss Sun, what do you have to say? Are you in contact now? If so, add Huo Linyuan tomorrow. She wants everyone in the world to wear this dress. While the audience is doing well, the battle is still fierce on the stage. Ms. Lan, you are so hesitant to speak. You must have something to say, or maybe you want to say something after hearing what I just said. I have nothing to say, it's just that my eyes are not good. If you don't follow Lanmin's instructions, then your eyes are not good. It's really bad eyes that are good. Your eyes are not good in that aspect. You were scummed by a scumbag. Who scummed you? Jaime, if someone scumbags you, then you must speak out and cannot wrong yourself. Just like my sister, I was scumbagged by a man named Huo Linyuan, and now I'm looking away. After all, there aren't many men in this world except two-legged men. Lanmin is praying in his heart now. Pray to God to open his eyes soon. Let this arrogant Sunian learn a lesson. As long as God can take care of Sunian properly, then she can pay any price. And God seems to have heard Lanmin's thoughts. At this time, a group of people suddenly broke in. The key thing is that the people who broke in seemed to be wearing police uniforms. Sun Ying'er's expression changed when she saw the intruder. Then he walked quickly towards Sunian. As soon as she walked to Sunian, a man who looked like an official came to Sunian. Monsieur, I'm sorry, the talent show you held violated social customs, provoked social disputes, and spread bad news. Thoughts, now we will ban your draft in accordance with the law. Let me explain something to you. Why is it written that Li Baikan gives bags and roses, and then Mo Bao does it all? This is my alternative wife-chasing crematorium. My son has also done what you Li Baikan did, so I don't like it. So it can be regarded as the price Li Baikan paid for hurting Nian Nian. After all, he can't succeed easily. End of this chapter.